Real good? Okay, good. Okay, so this right here is going to be called the cephalic vein. It's more superficial. This is called the cephalic vein, okay? If we look right here, what's another word for armpit?
Axillary.
Axillary, good. So this right here, this vein right here is called the axillary. And then the one right here, at the very end, because we're now beginning the arm, right? What's the other word for arm? Brachial, good. So the name of this vein right here is the brachial vein. So we have brachial vein, which leads into the axillary vein. The axillary vein leads into, guess what vein? Subclavian. Excellent. I don't know, I heard this area, so congratulations to this area. It is subclavian, okay? The subclavian vein. Does everybody understand that? And then from subclavian vein, it goes into the where? Brachiocephalic, and then from brachiocephalic goes where? Superior vena cava, okay? Does everybody get that? So again, brachial leads into where? Axillary. Axillary leads into where? Subclavian. Subclavian leads into where? Brachiocephalic. Brachiocephalic leads into where? Superior vena cava, which leads into the right atrium. Good. Okay? Does everybody get it? Okay. Next, when we look at this side, okay, this is superficial, this is deep. Does everybody agree with that? Because they rip these muscles off so you can see superficial. Does anybody remember the name of this muscle right here? Begins with an S. Close. Sartorius. Good. The sartorius muscle. Remember sartorius the snake? Sartorius muscle. This vessel right here follows the sartorius muscle. This vessel right here is called the great saphenous vein. It's called the great saphenous vein. Okay? Now, this is the vein that they use sometimes for coronary artery bypass grafts. So what they do with a coronary artery bypass graft, if you remember, that let's say there's a clot in the LAD, left anterior descending, what they'll do is they'll take that vein off and they'll basically go around that clot. Does everybody get that? It goes around it. That's why they call it a bypass, because you're bypassing it, you're going around it. Okay? They use the great saphenous vein. So about 2 years ago, I was teaching this exact same thing, and a student raised her hand. She said, "You're not going to believe what happened in my hospital." So I said, please share with the class. What ended up happening was in her unit, they were dealing with coronary artery bypass grafts. A nurse had walked over and saw a bandage on the patient's leg while they were sort of half awake, half not. Saw the bandage and said, "Oh, it must have been another nurse who left it there by accident, like took something off of the chest because they knew it was a cardiac unit, took it and ripped the bandage right off." Okay, the skin just whoosh, opened right up. Okay, what ended up happening was that the skin ended up becoming infected. So they ended up having to do a skin graft on this individual person, okay? And why? Because she didn't realize that where they took the vein from. They took the vein from the great saphenous vein, from the leg, okay? So it's a little interesting real story. I mean, all of us were like, whoa. Okay, so it's pretty unbelievable. So again, this right here is called the what? Great saphenous vein. The great saphenous vein is going to lead into a large vein that you see here and here. What do you think is the name of that vein right there that's very large that I like to call the femoral vein? Very good, femoral vein. So this is the femoral vein. It then passes this ligament. What do we call this ligament right here in the groin? Inguinal. Very good. This is the inguinal. So the femoral leads into this vein right here. What is the name of this vein right here? External iliac. And then this one right here is the what? Internal iliac. So the external and internal iliac lead to this larger vein right here called the what? Common iliac. So if we look over here, this right here is the great saphenous, right? What do I know? It's superficial. Notice how they rip sartorius off of here? Okay? So here they have the great saphenous, which leads into the femoral, right? Femoral passes the inguinal ligament and it forms the external iliac, correct? So external iliac is going to eventually lead to the where? Common iliac. Same thing here. They kind of show you the internal iliac here. Here's external iliac and common iliac. This is the femoral. Okay? So, external iliac, internal iliac leads to the common iliac. External, internal leads to the common iliac. Both common iliacs, left and right common iliacs, and you have to define as left and right, leads to this large vessel called the what? Inferior vena cava. Good. Now, what do you think this hole is right here? What do you think that's for? The gonadal vein. So this is the right gonadal vein, and everybody see this right here? This is the left gonadal vein. You notice something weird about that. Both gonadal arteries come off of the abdominal aorta. but the gonadal veins enter different areas. The right gonadal vein enters into the inferior vena cava, whereas the left gonadal vein enters into the renal vein. Does everybody understand that? Okay. Now, why is that? Because the inferior vena cava is slightly to the right of the midline of the body. Okay. You want to decrease the distance between one vessel and another vessel. So the left gonadal vein drains into the left renal vein. So everybody get that? Whereas the right gonadal drains into the where? Inferior vena cava. So that's the inferior vena cava. Okay. So clearly this is the left renal vein, correct? This vessel right here comes from the adrenal glands. So what do we call that? Left adrenal vein. Left adrenal vein drains into this vein right here called the what? Left renal vein. This vein right here, okay, is the what? Left gonadal vein. So left gonadal vein, left renal, left suprarenal or adrenal drains into the where? Inferior vena cava. And then from the inferior vena cava drains into the right atrium. Simple, right? Okay. So just hit stop.